hi, Linda Hurevitz. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Scott Nell?
I am looking so forward to, I think next week I'm going to there's a couple of deals closing, but then I'm just going to chill. I'm going to sleep in every day, eat what I want, drink what I want.
Yeah,
That's
somebody asked me the other day, what are you going to do? Aren't you going away for the holidays? I said, no, I think I just want to crawl into bed and sleep.
right.
Just please give me a break.
Doesn't that carry such a premium these days for me? And so when I get that one day, I'm going, oh, this is nice. And then I'm just hoping the kids don't have anything going that morning.
Yep, I get it.
Hey, so Linda, we've known each other for a lot of years. You're a highly respected litigator, an attorney with a focus on labor and employment. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do, what your little sweet spot is? Because I'm looking back there and I'm seeing like about 100 cases you must be working on right now. And so obviously you're in high demand, and I've never heard anything but like rave reviews on you. And I've worked with you personally, so I see how you handle yourself, and I'm going, man, she's good. You get things accomplished in a very calm, focused manner, and I really appreciate that about you.
It's all the internal stuff. I keep it inside. So, what I do is I represent employers who are being sued by their employees
Hmm.
for the most part because they're claiming they were discriminated against, harassed, or retaliated against.
Hmm.
One of my hot topic areas right now is whistleblower retaliation claims. And you can be a whistleblower of anything. So
Hmm.
you could have an employee who says, I complained that you were ignoring phone calls from clients. Now they're a whistleblower. If you take any adverse employment action against them, you
Hmm.
relocate their office, you don't give them a raise, you don't give them a promotion, now they're going to sue you. And these are high ticket items, um, mainly because if the attorney wins on behalf of the plaintiff, the attorney recovers attorney's fees over and above
Hmm.
what their client wins. And so they can be very high risk. There have been some very high 40 million, $30 million results on these whistleblower cases
Oh
recently.
my.
Oh, yes.
But you want to give us well, actually this is real estate hell, so
Yeah, this
but
is real estate hell.
before we go to real estate hell though, so do you have a case or something that gives like a snapshot of what you do? I mean, what's a day in the life for you? I mean, if someone comes to you with an issue, and then what steps are taken with them?
I start with going through the employee's personnel file. I interview the people, the supervisors. I interview people they worked with. I go through their life at work with a fine tooth comb to figure out what their claims are all about. I check them out on social media to see what
Huh?
kinds of things they do and, their other life outside of work. It's a lot of delving deeply.
Yeah, that's what we're always telling our kids. I said, back when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I could get away with murder. I could get away with anything because no one knew what I was doing because there weren't the cameras, there wasn't the media and tech. Nowadays, I said, you guys, everything you do. I tell my oldest son, I said, you're in college now. You want to become a doctor. You got to be very careful about what you post and pictures you take and all sorts of stuff. Just be aware. And I don't know that it's totally sinking in yet, but I'm hoping it does soon.
It comes back to haunt people later, and it can be very devastating. My whole world doing this has changed over the years. First with emails, it has become overwhelming with emails. Now it went to text messages,
Right.
and getting people's text messages off their phones was always a challenge. And
Mm-hmm.
then add on to that social media. So it isn't just what happens at work.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you're texting people and you're
Right.
seeing what's going on. And it all comes back to haunt you later on. So your
So
life is a
you,
is a public record when you start doing that.
oh,
You're an
really?
open book.
A text?
We get them. If I had an employee text me, I'm going to get that, especially when the employer provides the cell phone.
Right. Interesting. Oh, I didn't even think about that, but
Because the
yeah.
cell phone then belongs to the employer and they're giving it to the employee for business purposes.
Now, can you pull up the text? Even like me, I get literally hundreds, maybe thousands of texts a month. And it's so hard to keep track that eventually what I do is I delete and I keep the key ones that I need. And then, or I say, can we move this over to an email so we can keep it? Because it's just too hard to keep track. But can you still pull the text after they've been deleted?
That I don't know. I have forensic IT people I work with.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I just know I can ask for it.
That's a good position to be in.
Yes.
Okay, so I have another question for you. Your hair is purple, which to me shows your creative side because you're a musician as well, with the singers-in-law. But what is it? What does that mean to you? Is it part of? Do you think it's part of your personality? Part how you express yourself? Because how often do you see an attorney that has has colored hair like that?
I'm it. I think I'm it.
You're the
I
brand.
think it's this I like to have this one thing that makes me just a little bit different. I could put on the same old black suit that every other lawyer wears, except I'm the one that's got the purple hair. That's all.
I love it. I love it. And so let's talk to. So we've done some deals together. So gosh, how many has it been? I think we've done like 4 or 5, right?
There's been a few over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm hoping none of your real estate hell stories are about me.
No, in fact, Scott, my real estate health stories have all been out of state where you have referred me to real estate agents very beautifully. But those have been my worst experiences, have been the ones involving properties not in California, not here in the valley. But perfection with you.
Oh, you're too sweet. That's very sweet of you to say, but I'll tell you this, like the deal we just closed. Anything comes up, you're really, really smart. But it's a lot of times people who are really, really smart, they're not, they just think they know everything. Instead, you ask questions. What about this? What about this? What about this? Okay, and then you hear the answer, you make a decision, and you roll. And if you need to be flexible, you're flexible. So that's why I got to imagine that, I've never worked with you as an attorney, but I've got to imagine that's one of the things that makes you so powerful.
Well, I know my lingo. So there's certain language that lawyers use. We might use some shorthand languages that I wouldn't expect anyone else to understand. And you are an expert in your real estate market and you have shorthand words you use. But
Yes,
I don't know what they are. So I always have to ask, okay, now MG, right? Oh my
right.
God. Well, I don't know what that meant when you use it in the context of a real estate deal. So I need a translation.
Yeah, well, that's why we have each other. It's
There,
perfect.
that's right.
So tell me about one of the hell stories, one of the challenges you've had in real estate that you want to share.
So I think the one that stands out in my mind the most was many years ago, I bought a waterfront property in Washington State
Mm-hmm.
that I really thought I was going to retire to. And for the first couple of years, I think I used the house for 2 weeks a year. And the rest of the time, it was either empty or I rented it out as like an Airbnb. And that was only in the summertime because you don't want to be, nobody's vacationing on Camano Island anytime but in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally thought, okay, I'm just going to rent it out to a full-time tenant because I always had to get the cleaning crew in every time a tenant left, and
Right.
towels would disappear, crap like that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I rented out to long-term tenants, and the last tenant I had in for I don't know how many years. And they weren't, I decided to sell the property because I realized I was not going to retire up to Camano Island. And the tenants moved out. I don't remember having difficulty getting them to move out, but they moved out. And so I asked you for a referral to a real estate agent up there, and you found me someone. And I reached out to her, and she said, let me go check out the house. So she went over to the house once it was empty. And she called me back and she says, okay, Linda, I looked at the house. I can't describe to you the condition it's in. You need to come up here.
Oh my. Okay.
And so I got on a plane and I flew up to Washington. And in the meantime, she was kind enough to reach out to a contractor she knew and a painting contractor and so forth. And I looked at this house and it was just a charming, cute little house, 3
Mm-hmm.
bedrooms, 2.5 baths, like 1,500 square feet, but right on the water. Okay, right
Uh-huh.
on the water.
Nice.
And the place was not just filthy. There was literally dog poop in the corner on the rug. I mean, it was
Oh, God.
bad. It was nasty, nasty, nasty. And the tenants had never said to me, I need something fixed. They just would say, okay, well, we're replacing this and it's fine, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what kind of condition it was in. I had to, well, let me put it this way. When the contractor came out to the house with me and the real estate agent, and we did a walkthrough
Mm-hmm.
with a punch list, and we made notes of every single room of every little
Sure.
thing that needed to be done, from light switches to light bulbs to new fixtures to new plumbing, you name it, everything. And the contractor, left. He goes, okay, I'll get you a bid. The painting contractor we did the walkthrough, and there was wood rot because you're sitting on the water, salt water.
Right.
It just tears apart a house, and it's a wood frame house, for Pete's sake. So it needed a ton of prep. It needed work. He says, okay, I'll go get you a bid. And then my sister-in-law, who lives up there,
Mm-hmm.
the two of us went to Home Depot, and we got a shopping cart, and we went up and down the aisles, every single aisle of Home Depot over the course of 2 days, filled up cartfuls.
Can't
Oh,
believe you did that yourself.
oh yeah. Well, there were certain things that why would I pay a contractor to go to Home Depot or to go order electrical stuff if I can get it
Right.
myself?
You choose the lamp you want. You choose the
Yeah,
hardware.
I chose the light fixtures I wanted. I picked out the new garage door. I
Mhm.
I picked out the new stove, the new carpeting. I did everything. I now love Home Depot. Okay.
Huh?
And literally, it was our shopping spree. Usually we like to go shopping together, but not exactly in Home Depot.
Sure.
And I just brought it all back to the house, set it on the kitchen counter, and said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, guys, go do it. And I think, within a month, they had completely cleaned up this house. It had been repainted inside and out. And I remember one day the guy, I'd ordered the garage door from Home Depot. And so they contract with an outside contractor to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the contractor calls me and says, I'm going to your house today to install the new garage door. I'll be there at such and such a time. And I said, well, I won't be there. There's a, whatever it's called, a lockbox.
Sure.
And the code is blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let yourself in, because the place was empty. So he gets to the front door, and I guess there were two lock boxes. So he was confused. He called me and he says, which lockbox am I supposed to use? So I told him, and he opened the door, the front door of the house, and he looked at, and when you looked at from the entrance of the house, you looked into the living room or the great room. Directly, it was all a wall of windows looking out on the water,
Oh,
and you
nice.
couldn't see another house anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, my God, this house is on the water. I said, yeah, you want to buy it? Anyway, so he got my garage door done, and he didn't want to buy the house. But literally, so my real estate agent up there got it all finished. She staged it, and I
Mm-hmm.
flew back up for the open house. I wanted to be in town. And I think she listed it on a Friday. I
Mm-hmm.
flew up, I think later on Friday. We already had a bot. We already sold it. It was sold on Friday before we even had the open house on Saturday. I think we had multiple bids on a Friday, but that was one of my more memorable experiences.
Yeah, well, coming back and seeing your a home that you purchased that you were considering living in yourself, a disaster like that, that must have been jarring.
Yeah, when it was done, I said, why am I selling this? Because it was so adorable. And I mean, the location was so wonderful. I still regret having sold it, but it's silly to own something you never use, right?
That's true. True. Plus, you've got a good situation. You had somewhere else to go and somewhere else to park that money, so it all worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was one of my real estate help. But I'm telling you, you referred me to the agent you referred me to. I've worked with her again, and she's fabulous. And
Oh, that's
she
great.
has just been fabulous.
Wonderful. I'm fortunate that because I'm part of a mastermind group, I usually, if someone says, hey, I need someone from here or someone from here, I almost always have someone. And then I call them and talk to them. I look at their website, get a feel for them, and so I've been fortunate that man, the people that I've referred, even if I haven't met them, have just always making me look good. So I'm glad that worked out for you.
Absolutely. Let me think about this. You referred me to a real estate agent in Ohio.
Oh, that's right.
You referred me to one in Oregon, and you
Hmm.
referred me to one in Washington. And I'll probably need a referral soon because I think I'm going to be selling the Oregon townhouse.
Well, whatever you need, I got you. I got you. I'm there for you. Yeah. So, do you have any other health stories?
Well, the last house. So when I sold the house on Camano Island, I bought a townhouse for my daughter in Ohio because she got a job out there. And I realized because property values in Ohio are much lower than they are in Washington or California, I had a lot of money left over. And so the same real estate agent who sold the island property happened to be working with another agent who was representing the builder of a fairly new development. Apparently, when they finished the new
Mm-hmm.
development, the market had tanked. And
Uh-huh.
so they leased out these houses. And one by one, as the market came around, the owner, builder,
Mm-hmm.
was selling, was moving out the tenants and selling the properties. But there was one house left that still had a tenant in it. And the builder wanted to sell it. And so I bought it off market with the tenant still in. So I kept those tenants for another like 6 years.
Uh-huh.
And I think they had been in the house for maybe 9 because I think they moved in when the house was brand new and the house was now 15 years old. And so I decided to sell that house because you helped me buy a house in Los Angeles. And again, the same agent, I said, "Will you help me on this one?" She goes, Sure." And again, she goes to the house to go check it out. And she goes, "You got to come see this."
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I flew up to Washington, did a walk, and I had bought the house sight unseen, just on
Wow.
her recommendation
You're brave.
because I was getting a good buy with
Mm-hmm.
the tenant already in place. I didn't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good investment property for me. But again, they lived in the house for 15 years with dogs, a lot of children, and wasn't as dirty as the last one maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but all the flooring was torn, the carpeting was shredded, it hadn't been painted, it was dated, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of things like that. And again, I went in there, met with the contractors, and again made my run to Home Depot, up and down the aisles again, picking
Uh-huh.
out things. We just got that one finished after it took quite a few months actually because it needed a lot of work. It went on the market and sold within about 5 days.
Nice.
So that just closed.
You've had a lot of good fortune with real estate.
I have. I have. I never thought I would be investing in real estate, but I think it's all your fault.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I am a big fan. I don't say it just because I want to do business. To me, I look at the rental that we have at our house. And that's where a lot of our wealth. I mean, I looked at it as part of our retirement plan. Is these things. So that's why. So to diversify and have it in different places, it's so much more safe. Plus, real estate, if it goes down, it's like as long as you don't sell, it doesn't matter. Yeah, because it's gonna come back up.
And you
And
can't make more land. There's
yeah.
only so much land available. So I,
So tell us about, remember the house you sold that they ended up turning into units.
yes.
I remember the way the deal was structured was that you could take anything, attached, not attached, whatever. It was the funkiest wording because, in other words, you could take latches, you could, if you wanted to take a doorknob, because you knew it was being torn down. So walk us through that process.
Oh,
Because when I went over to your new house, I remember looking. He goes, "Remember that? That was there, and this was there." And I use this here. I'm going like, "Wow, that's my old stove. You took everything."
I took everything. Yeah, so that house which you sold for me, that was a 1929 house and it was sort of a cross between a Tudor and a Craftsman,
Mm-hmm.
And when we bought it, still had all of the original light fixtures, all of the original glass doorknobs, crystal doorknobs,
Oh, I
all
love
the
that.
hardware and built in, vanities in the bathrooms and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And I loved that house, but the neighborhood was changing and I didn't love the neighborhood anymore and I wanted out. So, because it was going to a developer who planned on scraping it, he said, the more you take, the less I have to take to the dump. And the so one of the things, there's a few things from that house that are really special. And one was the front door. So the front door was this solid wood, gorgeous door that came to a point at the top. And I wanted that door. So my contractor literally removed not just the door, the entire door frame, because
Oh, really?
the frame has to be built to match the shape of the door.
That was smart.
So we took the whole thing. I took all the doors. I took all the light fixtures, and there were all the vanities, the custom built in vanities. I think I took a couple of them that I knew would fit in the new house.
See, normally you would be arrested for this, but instead you put it in the contract.
I put it in the contract, and even the fireplace had this beautiful, I thought it was Batchelder, but it was a different tile. It wasn't Batchelder tile, but it was also a very famous tile maker. And I didn't want that to go in the trash. And I found a guy who rescues vintage tile, and he came over to the house and one by one, he removed the tiles and kept them. I said, I don't want anything for this. Just take them, find them a happy home. And he did. So
Nice.
yeah, I thought, and I really wanted to preserve and reuse as much as I possibly could.
That's great.
When we built the new house, or it's not a new house, the house that you found for us to move into, I remodeled it. So when the contractor came in, because we mainly remodeled the back end of the house to make it larger, all of the 2x4s that he ripped out were sitting in the driveway. And one day I said to him, what are you going to do with all those 2x4s? And he said, they're going to go to the dump. And I said, and he goes, you want a picnic table? And I said, yes. And he built me a huge picnic table and finished it, right? For the deck, because we have a covered deck that he built for us. And it turned out so gorgeous. And he loved it so much. He took the leftover wood and built one for he has a cabin up at Big Bear, and he built a dining room table out of the wood for his cabin. So I'm very big on repurposing.
I think it's great. I think that would be a great job for someone is that's what they do. And especially if they can do it for little to no cost because they know they're going to make it back when they sell it or do whatever they do. It's captured. I love that.
Well, but there are companies, architectural salvage companies, that will do that. They'll come out. Huh?
Would they do it at no cost or?
I don't know. In fact, I was planning on going to haunt and a couple of architectural salvage places in the next month or two, for the new property that I bought, to look for some vintage doors and maybe some vintage windows. Yeah, because I did when I was working on the 1929 house, because I did a remodel on that one. Pasadena has a wealth of places. I had stuff replated. There's a guy that does replating in Pasadena. He's wonderful. Architectural salvage, hardware, vintage hardware, and vintage lighting. I still have all the lights that came out of my old house, and I'm not using them all. So I'm planning. I keep saying I'm going to find a home for them and haven't yet, but
Sure. So, question for you. Do you have a charity or a cause that is close to your heart that you'd like to have a little light shined on, or shined, whatever you call it?
Do I have? Well, I'm a supporter of the Harmony Project, which is an organization that provides music training to young kids who wouldn't otherwise be able to get it. And I usually also to the rescue missions, frankly, towards homeless aid.
Okay.
So that would be kind of my thing.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I do have one last question. If you wouldn't mind, because it's great for to put together a video. If you could share some more of your experience that we've had together in real estate.
Yes. Well, what I remember is when I was living in my old house, the 1929 house, I didn't want to sell it, but I kept getting calls from developers wanting to buy it. And they were literally knocking on people's doors in that neighborhood because
Right.
the neighborhood was zoned for 4 units on a 7,000 square foot piece of property, which is what I was sitting on. It was in the NoHo redevelopment area.
Right.
So there was a tremendous amount of new construction that started going on in that area. And I said to you one day, Scott, help me. I keep getting calls from these developers. I don't really want to sell my house. I don't know what to do. And you said, well, let me put you in touch with this friend of mine who's a developer, an expediter,
That's right.
and talk to him. And you connected me with him. And next thing I knew, he said, I'll buy your house.
Right.
And I happened to know that my next door neighbor, who also had a 1929 house, was simply renting hers out because she had already moved to a different location. And I said to her, are you interested in selling your house? She said, yeah, I might be interested. And so together we put together a 14,000 square foot piece of property that the guy you introduced me to bought.
Right.
And then he got it rezoned, I guess, so that they could put up what are they called? Small lot, single family dwellings, right? Isn't that what they're called?
Small lot development.
Right. So he got it all ready. And then I think he sold it to a builder with 8 units on the 14,000 square feet. So my neighborhood doesn't look anything like it. It does. Before you introduced me to that guy. So that was an amazing experience because I had no idea what to do.
Right, right. And when you mentioned the neighbor, I thought, wow, if you could do it together, you can probably pick up another unit or two, because all of a sudden you don't have all the setbacks and everything. And so that turned out to be a winner for everybody.
That was a big winner for your friend who you introduced me to, I think.
And you got top dollar for it, which is good. He gave you a great price for it, as opposed to coming in. A lot of these guys, what they do is they come in and lowball. But I don't go to those guys because I said, how am I supposed to represent Linda if I'm coming in and trying to talk her into a lowball offer? It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
That's why the guys that I work with, they always come in with a fair price, and then it's like, look, you can look elsewhere, but my guy is going to do what he said he's going to do. It could be my guy or my gal, because I'm working with someone right now, a woman who's outstanding, but they do what they say they're going to do, and they make it easy for the seller, and they give them a fair price, and they don't nickel and dime them, and so it works out well.
Yeah, well, what you did was amazing. It worked out really well for me. I wound up in a great neighborhood, which you found me another house in a great neighborhood. I love the neighborhood, and I can always depend on you when I have a need. Like I need a gardener, I need a tree trimmer, I need a new roof. I call you, and you have names of people that you trust and that you've worked with before, and saves me a lot of the headache of trying to weed through the riffraff, right?
Well, I like being a resource, right? That's when I got into the business. To me, I thought I'm going to be like the one-stop shop. So if you call me and say, "Do you need this?" If I'm not the right person for it, I'll get you to the right person. But I mean, whatever it is, that's the way I want to be. I always say, forget Kevin Bacon and 6 degrees of separation. I'm 1 degree from anyone. You just tell me. So, Linda, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day, out of your week to spend with me. I appreciate that.
Well, and thank you for all the help you've given me over the years.
Yeah. Well, you do know I could get paid for that stuff too, right? I mean, it's nuts. What I'm trying to say is I appreciate you because you gave me that opportunity. It helps me support my family. So I owe you a huge thank you as well.
All right. Well, then we both are grateful.
Very good. Very good.